All right, let's talk about one of the greatest rivalries in business history. I mean, this is a story that has it all. Near-death experiences, brilliant, audacious marketing, and a war that's been raging for over 100 years. This is the incredible story of how Pepsi, the eternal underdog, decided to take on the world.
Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. It really is the ultimate David versus Goliath story of the corporate world, right? For pretty much its entire existence, Pepsi has been the challenger, the scrappy fighter. So the big question is, how did this perennial second placer even get a chance to step into the ring with a giant like Coca-Cola? Okay, let's get into it.
You know, this whole epic story doesn't kick off in some fancy boardroom. Nope. It starts in a small-town pharmacy in New Bern, North Carolina. The guy behind it all, Caleb Bradham, he wasn't dreaming of a global empire. He was just trying to mix up a tasty syrup that would also, believe it or not, help with indigestion.
So check out how rocky this start was. It begins as Brad's drink in 1893. A few years later, in 98, it gets renamed Pepsi Cola, that Pepsi part coming from dyspepsia, which is just a fancy word for an upset stomach. But here's where it gets crazy. The company went bankrupt after World War I because of some bad bets on sugar prices. And the real kicker? Coca-Cola had the chance to buy Pepsi not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, and they said no every single time. Talk about a decision you'd live to regret.
Okay, so after basically coming back from the dead, Pepsi needed a game changer, a miracle, really. And that miracle arrived during, of all times, the Great Depression. It was a strategy born out of total, pure desperation.
So to reach people who were counting every single penny, Pepsi hit the radio with this incredibly catchy jingle. It was simple. 12 full ounces, that's a lot, twice as much for a nickel too. Pepsi Cola is the drink for you. This thing became a sensation. It was one of the first ever hit advertising jingles, and it just drilled this simple, powerful idea into everyone's heads.
And this right here, this is the genius behind that jingle. While Coke was selling its iconic little 6.5-ounce bottle for a nickel, Pepsi comes out with this huge 12-ounce bottle for the exact same price. I mean, think about it. If you're a family struggling through the Depression, getting twice the soda for the same money isn't just a deal, it's a no-brainer. This one move, this simple value proposition completely saved the company. It actually doubled their profits in just 2 years.
So, Pepsi isn't just surviving anymore, it's actually starting to thrive. Now we're heading into the mid-century, and this is where things heat up and turn into an all-out war for the top spot.
Back in the 1940s, most big companies either totally ignored black consumers or used really offensive stereotypes. The president of Pepsi, a guy named Walter Mack, he saw this as a huge opportunity. He hired a man named Edward F. Boyd to build an all-black sales team, and they launched ads that showed black families and professionals in a positive, dignified way. In a deeply segregated America, this was, well, it was revolutionary. And because of this, Pepsi's market share among African Americans tripled. It was a bold move that really paid off.
All right, so Pepsi has a solid footing now. They've got momentum. So what do they do next? In the 1970s, they decide to go right for Coke's throat, and they do it by weaponizing a very, very simple question.
The Pepsi Challenge. This was just audacious. They literally set up tables in shopping malls all over America and had people do a blind taste test. And the results, which Pepsi blasted on TV commercials, kept showing that more people actually preferred the taste of Pepsi. This was a direct attack on Coke's whole identity as the real thing. And you know what? It worked so well that it caused a panic at Coca-Cola, leading them to make one of the biggest marketing blunders of all time, the launch of New Coke in 1985. An absolute disaster for them.
And the numbers really tell the story. Just look at this. In 1950, Coke was outselling Pepsi 5-1. It wasn't even close. But by 1980, after decades of these clever, aggressive strategies, that gap had shrunk to just 1.5-1. The underdog was officially a heavyweight contender.
Now, this whole war wasn't just happening in the US. To compete on the world stage, Pepsi had to get really, really creative. And they pulled off some of the most bizarre and brilliant business deals you've ever heard of.
This story is just wild. It's straight out of the Cold War. Pepsi wanted to get into the Soviet Union, a huge, untapped market. The problem? The Soviet currency, the ruble, was basically worthless outside the country. So, what do? In an act of pure genius, they decided to just barter. They traded Pepsi syrup for the exclusive rights to sell Stolichnaya vodka in the West. And just like that, Pepsi became the very first American consumer product ever sold in the USSR.
So while Coca-Cola is the undisputed global champ, Pepsi managed to carve out its own little empire in some really key places. We're talking massive markets like India and Pakistan, and a lot of the Middle East, places where Pepsi is #1, hands down. And maybe the most famous example is in Quebec, Canada, where Pepsi is so dominant that they once ran an ad campaign with the slogan, "Here, it's Pepsi." Just total confidence.
You don't stick around for more than 125 years without changing things up. So let's do a quick run-through of how Pepsi's look has evolved over the years and how it managed to survive some pretty major controversies.
So after the war, in the 50s, Pepsi went all in on patriotism. You've got the red, white, and blue bottle cap, the classic script. It was all about looking established, looking like an American classic right alongside Coke.
Then we get to the 70s, right in the middle of the Cola Wars, and boom, everything gets cleaner, more modern. The script is gone, and that circular Pepsi globe becomes the star of the show. It just felt fresh and confident, a perfect match for the energy of the Pepsi challenge.
The 90s were a huge turning point. Pepsi decided they were going to own the color blue. They called it Project Blue. It was a massive strategic shift to visually separate themselves from Coke's sea of red. They even painted a Concorde jet blue to launch it. A huge deal.
And that brings us right up to today. The newest logo is a bit of a throwback, isn't it? It has that bold, confident vibe of the 70s and 80s, bringing the word Pepsi right back into the center of the globe. It feels modern, but it also respects its own history.
But man, it hasn't always been smooth sailing. They've had some epic disasters. In '89, they paid Madonna millions for a campaign, then had to cancel it almost immediately because her Like a Prayer video caused a huge public backlash. Then, a few years later in the Philippines, a contest went horribly wrong when they printed the winning number on almost 1 million bottle caps by mistake, leading to actual riots. The fact that the brand could survive screw-ups that big is honestly pretty amazing.
So, from a small pharmacy to a global icon, Pepsi's story is really about survival and relentless adaptation. It's a masterclass in how an underdog can go toe-to-toe with a giant. Not by copying them, but by being different, by offering better value, targeting overlooked customers, and just being bold enough to challenge the champ. The Cola War is definitely not over, and you have to wonder, where will the next punch in this epic fight come from? Thanks for watching.